So I went from being the fattest kid in the class to the best built kid in the class. I felt like I could do anything, but inside it didn't fix it. There was maybe a little bit more of a fake confidence. I was building the external all for some sort of approval from people. I never felt like I was smart enough. I never felt like I was sharp enough. Alcoholism is interestingly, I had crossed the line from a habit to an unhealthy dependency.
When do you hit rock bottom?
I can't explain to you this feeling, Lee. Everything went dark.
So how did the intervention happen?
Welcome to the Labrada Show.
Welcome back, everybody. My guest today is one of the country's most successful performance coaches, and he's worked with celebrities, musicians, athletes, war veterans, and everyday people, of course. He's developed a system that teaches people how to overcome fear, bad habits, and addictions, and he helps people to become the hero of their own success story. That's something that we can all use. Now, this wasn't an easy road for him because working in his family's multi-million-dollar company, at one time, he was in the grips of alcoholism and addiction. He turned his life around on July 14th, 2006, and has been helping people ever since. This dude has a unique, positive vibe and energy. I am happy to call him my friend, and he is a gift to others. Adam Jablin, welcome to the show, bro.
Lee, thank you for having me. I think it's important because you know, and everyone here knows that the audience listening and seeing this knows that you were my hero growing up, that in the 80s and 90s, I had Lee Labrada posters everywhere on my walls, and that was my vision. You know, I had a vision of how I wanted to look, and back in the day, posing was really important. And so, you know, I may fan out a couple of times while we're doing this, but it's important for me to mention what my heroes were.
It's all good. It's all good. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And in talking with you, I know that you mentioned that at one time you were an overweight kid.
Yeah.
And so tell us how being overweight led you to bodybuilding and
Absolutely. So growing up, I grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey. It was a great childhood, man. Yeah. For a lot of people to go back in time, I used the movie Big because they were kids on bicycles and riding all around, and it just felt no crime and harmony, and all the neighbors knew each other. And I really had the greatest childhood one could ever want.
It sounds amazing.
But the one thing that made me feel different was I was the heavy kid. I was the fat kid. My dad would even call me El Chubbo, not meaning to hurt. You know what I mean?
Your dad?
Yeah, but not meaning to hurt feelings. It was it was evident. You know, there was a movie back in the day called The Goonies.
Oh my gosh, I remember that one.
Yeah, do the chunk shuffle, and these kids would ask me to do it, and I just remember I hated the way I felt and looked in the mirror. Yeah, which gave me a very extroverted personality, and the idea was to get you to laugh with me instead of laughing at me.
Right.
You know, so I think that's
a defensive mechanism.
A complete defense mechanism.
Right.
Absolutely. Which, and it does also help you with becoming more popular, but inside you're hurt. Inside you're hurt. And in 1986, we moved down from Tenafly, New Jersey, down to Boca Raton, Florida, where you could be in the sun every day, be in the beach every day. I used to wear T-shirts and it would suck to my fat. And my mom, she knew how much it was affecting me. She started buying me Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness magazine, Muscular Development.
Wow. That's really cool, bro.
Cool.
Because I'll tell you, the first time that I brought home a bodybuilding magazine, my dad looked at it and he goes, "You want to look like that?" And I go, "Yes."
No, for me, it was the opposite.
He later became my biggest fan, by the way. You know, that's really cool that your mom did that.
Well, you guys kind of laid down the foundation of bringing it from something that was counterculture to my generation. Bodybuilding was way more in the now. Now it's its own thing.
It's really been accepted, and into the mainstream, and people know what bodybuilders are. But back then, it really was a subculture. You know, the movie Pumping Iron did a lot to bring that out. So you
were the bridge. Like you guys were the bridge for me because my culture, my time in the 80s, bodybuilding was it was very cool, and guys, wanted to learn how to bench press and work out, and it wasn't weird or strange.
And Stallone and Schwarzenegger were at their peak,
exactly,
and they were holding up that model, as a look And a lot of the guys felt that that was attainable. But so you're the heavy kid.
I'm the heavy kid.
And you're getting Flex magazine. What happens next?
So my dad buys me a weight set, and I'm not saying this because I'm here. It's I will go into the background of how I found you, but I start cutting out the workouts.
Right.
It was the push-pull leg system, and I got lucky that I think sometimes your eyes know what you want to look like. You see what you think your body can look like. So I start, cutting out pictures of you and emulating you and trying to and just doing it one day at a time, Lee, honestly, and not really understanding nutrition at the time. And it wasn't today's day and age. I didn't have access like this.
Right.
So it was all reading and magazines.
Sure.
And my mom would get me grilled chicken breast and an apple,
Right.
rather than a 6-piece chicken McNuggets with
Right.
fries and a soda.
Smart lady.
Yeah.
Ahead of her time.
Ahead of her time.
And you're so right about back then we had to rely on the magazines being published.
Yeah.
Print magazines to get our information. And now these kids have access. We all have access, to all of the bodybuilding and, diet and workout information in the world, just right online.
It was a big deal for me when I got the VHS tapes of you working out of some of the Mr. Olympia
Now you're
competitions.
dating us, man. VHS tapes.
I'm telling you, though,
Right?
that's what I was doing. And when you had those, it was a big deal.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It was a big deal. My friends would come over and watch them, but that transformation happened in 4 short years, Lee. So I went from being the fattest kid in the class to the best built kid in the class.
In 4 years.
4 years.
Now, what did that do to your psychological makeup?
That's the interesting part. So I was still the class clown. I was still charismatic. There was maybe a little bit more of a fake confidence because I knew I was getting a little more attention with the body.
Right.
I was getting positive attention, but inside it didn't fix it. It didn't fix it. But with the body, I was able to start competing with some of the older kids and hanging with the older kids. And there's something about when you're younger and you're hanging out with older children, they just seem cooler. Like they seem like they have more freedom.
Oh, yeah, everybody wants to be grown up when they're kids.
Exactly. So these kids were experimenting, and there was no peer pressure. Lee. I just remember I'm 14, 15, hanging out with 16, 17-year-olds, and you just feel more significant.
Right.
And they pass around the Coors Light or the Miller Lite, whatever it was.
Yep.
And I drank,
Yep.
and Lee, it fixed something inside of me I didn't know was broken.
Right.
So now my insides matched my outsides.
You felt something.
I felt it. So now I was like, because I didn't have it internally.
Right.
I was building the external all for some sort of approval from people.
Right.
But I wasn't feeling right inside.
Do
But
you
when
think,
I drank,
do you think that drink gave you a sense of false bravado or just a different personality? What did you get from it?
So the way I would say it now, but I don't want to encourage anyone, is whatever that anxiety was of I'm being looked at, I'm about to be teased, people are about to make fun of me, whatever that was, that volume got turned all the way down.
It just quieted the voice down.
That voice and I was a happy guy.
Right.
You take that anxiety away and it was like, life's pretty good.
Right.
So Superman came out.
Right. And tell us about Superman as you call it. Why do you call it Superman?
I just felt as if we're feeling good and the physique's feeling good and now you have no anxiety and you're drinking and the girls are liking you and I'm in high school. So there's what really
it's like Nirvana, right?
It's like you're the cool. You're the real issues that I have.
You're the cool kid.
Yeah,
you're the cool kid.
Yeah, and I just felt like I could do anything. I actually probably had the wrong definition of Superman then, which I'll tell you like later as we talk.
Sure,
but that guy came out.
Right. And then, of course, that manifests all different other sorts of things. You were working with your family's company.
Yeah.
Now was that later or was that in high school?
Yeah. Well, I worked a couple of years in high school. It's a family business in my family was, hey, Dad, I love you. If you're watching this, Grandpa, I love you. It was the other child. It was like we were in the mafia. Right. So there was no, Adam, what do you want to do when you grow up? Hey, what would you like to be? Like, this is who we are. This is what we do.
Right.
This is what we stand for.
And that's what you find in a lot of family businesses. They say that sons of bakers become bakers.
Yeah.
Sons of engineers become engineers. I'm the son of an engineer, and I became an engineer.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
You get it.
So you were being pressured to work in the family business. Which what kind of business was that?
It was lace manufacturing. So we designed and manufactured lace like Victoria's Secret,
Right.
Hanky Panky, La Perla. 90%.
Did you
of
get
the
to go to
garments-
the Victoria's Secret shows?
We went to a couple.
Rough job, right?
We went to a couple. That was the easy part of the job, thank God.
right.
But as you know, like this is perfect saying it at Labrada headquarters. There's everybody would want to be at the gym or taking the picture with the lean body RTD drink.
Right.
But in reality, it's running a warehouse. It's the way you take care of all your
The business
employees.
of business.
Lee, when we were walking around, Lee knew every single one of his employees. Like it was running a business. So in reality, even though I had those pictures at the fashion shows, I was running a manufacturing plant.
Right. And you have described your father as Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And your grandfather as Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you describe them that way?
So because they were the greatest. My grandfather was a captain of industry. He took a bet on the first lace manufacturing machine in the United States of America, which made me relate to you a lot about when we were talking about your ancestry, if you remember, on my interview of you, which I'd love to do again, by the way. But I really appreciate when we go back into the stories and finding out how we evolved.
Right. Absolutely.
And he was a captain, and he dominated.
So he was one of the pioneers of the lace industry in the United States. Had one of the first, or the first, lace manufacturing machine here.
100%.
Wow. Okay.
100%. And my father, there's a little bit of a story of why we had to move from New Jersey to Florida, and it looks kind of like the movie that just came out with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. It's got like the mafia in it, and it's got the union in it. It's got, so we were either going to move to Texas or to Florida because they're both non-union states.
Right. Okay.
All right. So is that kind of
There were
story?
issues.
There were issues.
Okay.
There were issues.
Okay.
Now, our employees were like the family you have here. They loved us.
Right.
But when the union says you're not working today, you're not going to work.
Okay.
And so trying to skip that story a little bit because it does get a little movie-esque. My father has a decision to make because my grandfather's out. He's out.
Right. By that point.
By that point,
So your
he's
dad's
out.
running the company, and he's grooming you to step in and run it as well.
Well, my dad, at this point, there is no company. So my grandfather, so this is in the 80s, right? Right before You're All Over My Wall. Madonna has lace all over her. And Prince is wearing lace everywhere.
So it's becoming really popular.
Yeah, and so my grandfather sells the machines for more money than he could have ever imagined.
Okay. So so he's out.
He's out. And now my father, who's this rough and tough cowboy,
Right.
who only knows how to make lace, he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So he decides to open his own company. He takes all the old customers, all the old customer base, but he does his own thing. It's actually a lot the way you speak about Hunter.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of similarities between you and Hunter and my father.
Hunter's my son.
Excuse me. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking
it's okay.
you know, if you guys don't know who Hunter Labrada is, look him up now. So there's a lot of similarities in that story now that I'm thinking about it. So my father took the clients from my grandfather, but starts his own thing and does it better.
Wow.
Does it better.
It takes off.
It takes off.
Okay.
And he just, it was like it was almost like he was a savant. I don't even know how to describe my father in that industry. You can name, it's probably very similar to you in Lean Body because you were part of every little beginning, but you can name, let's say X100 was the first Lean Body RTD box. My dad would know the name of the box.
He would know the number of the SKU.
He would know everything. I could not memorize these
So the business
things.
is taking off.
The business is taking
What
off.
happens with you? What happens with you at that point?
So I'm at that point, I'm giving you a flashback. This is when young Adam is having Lee Labrada all over his walls and he's working out and he's seeing a big transition from what New Jersey life was like to Florida life. And he's seeing his dad not coming home in a station wagon anymore, but coming home in a BMW. And before, if I went to Foot Locker, I wouldn't even have the courage to look at the Michael Jordan sneakers. And now when I look and my mom goes, "You want those?" I see things are changing.
Sure, there's a shift. There's an economic shift inside your family.
100%. And when they asked me, do I want to take over the family business at a young age, 15, 16, I knew what they wanted me to say. I knew what the answer was.
Sure.
And in doing that and understanding that everything is about the family, and you were saying my grandfather, my father, now to me, Lee, I just can't explain to you the pressure I felt. I don't know if it was there. I don't know if it was self-imposed, but I just had to live up to these icons.
So they're these two industry icons. They've been very successful. And you're 15, 16 years old and you're trying to figure out, how do I make my mark?
How do I make my mark?
How do I fit into this?
So how do I fit into this? So the decision's made. I will go into it. I go to Arizona State University where we meet Bruce, who works for Labrada, and which was the #1 party school in the world, which it was, But I also doubled down on my fitness there, and I did a bodybuilding show out there. Won teenager and got second in men's lightweight.
So you competed. You actually competed.
Competed, and there's a reason I also wanted to bring that up. It's interesting being here with you right now. A lot of the dedication, the discipline that I learned from learning from you, from the sport of bodybuilding, is what I took into that helped me be a success in my family business, and really, really helps me now being a coach. The structure of the sport in a healthy way.
That's right. It teaches you to be disciplined and to do things repetitively.
Yeah.
Training is repetitive, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep it fresh. You have to be very one-minded with your goals and with your nutrition and that kind of thing. So yeah, I have most definitely borrowed lessons that I've learned in bodybuilding, and I've applied them into my business as well.
Yeah, and you can see it here. You can see when you walk around Labrada, I mean, just the way you are with people and just how clean everything is, and there's a feeling of optimism here.
We sure have that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you for that. So Adam, okay, you're trying to step into some big shoes there in your family business. You feel the pressure. At this point, are you still drinking?
Well, that's why I wanted to. I know I'm going around it, but I'm still drinking. But this is what really fuels the drinking. Now, Lee, it's important that I explain. I didn't know that. Right. I just thought work hard, play hard.
Right.
I wanted to lower that voice down so Superman can come out. I wasn't that aware of my subconscious thoughts.
Right.
That this is why I'm doing
what 16-year-old kid is.
Yeah. So now I leave 16, I go to Arizona State University, do the bodybuilding show, know where I'm going into the family business. 18, go right into the family business. And it is starting at the janitor in the warehouse, cleaning the floors. It is understanding every single piece of yarn that's going in and out of inventory in the warehouse. It's learning every aspect of the business. And I have like this demon in my mind being like, is this it? Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Right.
Is this what alcohol calms that down real fast. And as I build up my career, because I had to be the first one there and the last one to leave, and I still was very charismatic and outgoing. So the way you are with your employees, I was with everybody, except I was the young kid. So I wanted to earn their respect and not just be another Jablin. I didn't want to be just another. I wanted them to understand that I'm my own person. So but I did learn to treat everybody the way I want to be treated, which is how I see you with everybody here. And
Thank you.
And when you walk away, Lee, everybody says to me, "That's who he is. That's exactly how he is."
Well, thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.
It's
bro.
really
I appreciate
great.
that.
And so I get to learn every single employee as a friend, not as one day I will take over the company, and that helped. But I'll tell you, Lee, living up to these two icons, the pressure, I can't explain it. I never felt like I was smart enough. I never felt like I was sharp enough. I knew I couldn't remember that the new RTD boxes were labeled X0001, and my dad could have that like this.
Right.
And there was also this emptiness of, I love helping people. And so when I was with the employees, I loved it. But when I was manufacturing lace and doing things mechanically, I felt very lost. I felt like I was confused about this is how my whole life is going to be.
Right. So that's what's going through your head is it's like, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck. Like for the rest of my life, this is something I'm not really enjoying or understanding. And the voice in your head is telling you that, how do I measure up to dad?
How do I measure up to these guys?
Yeah.
How do I measure up to it? And alcoholism is interestingly, it is a really disease. So it's not a habit. It's not a bad habit. It's not an unhealthy dependency. Those two things come before it. You don't just drink and become an alcoholic. But I had crossed the line from a habit to an unhealthy dependency where I was becoming dependent upon it. And then I had crossed the line from dependency to actually needing it. Where I physically needed it.
There's 3 stages there.
There's stages.
Okay.
There's
3 stages. Would you say
all with invisible lines, mind you?
Visible lines?
No, invisible.
Invisible
lines.
Okay.
But the way I would explain it is just to people like us is it's a lot like going from, almost pre-nationals, nationals, IFBB. It may be that light separation in a hamstring or the glutes were tired that year. You finally got your delts to match, the rest of your physique. But each year, you don't know where these lines are, but eventually you cross that.
Right.
That's a positive way.
Yeah, that's a positive thing.
That's a positive, but at least people can kind of see what we're thinking.
Sure.
With
physique
this,
is changing, making good changes. And as you do, you're climbing through different levels.
Right. Now to a normal person
Okay.
that's not into it like you and I, they can look at the 3 years and be like, I don't really see much of a difference.
Right.
Well, same thing with the opposite way of becoming an alcoholic in a negative way.
Negative, it's almost like a regression instead of a positive progression.
Exactly.
You're just regressing, and it's almost like a slippery slope. You're not even noticing it.
Not even noticing it. And from a habit to a dependency, where is that line?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know, but no one else can really see it. And then from a dependency to a full alcoholic, that's where the denial really kicks in.
Right.
And I'm dealing with all of this with everything you just mentioned of my father, my grandfather, the business, and it was the perfect storm.
And so you're at this point, Adam. When do you hit rock bottom, and what was if there was one particular incident or something that you just kind of snapped and made you realize you had to change?
Yeah, those are great questions. So my rock bottomly, I would say, is July 12th, 2 days before my intervention. And I get into a nasty, nasty argument with my ex-wife. No, I'm a gentleman. No, nothing physical, but just I can't explain to you this feeling. Everything went dark, and everything was negative in my life. Everything felt negative. I had a new baby. I thought this 6-month-old child was going to give me a new breath of life. I thought it was going to be Walt Disney World and cotton candy and sunshine and rainbows, and it was baby monitors and sleepless nights and worrying about something that I've never worried about before and caring like I've never cared before.
Right.
It didn't relieve the drinking. If anything, I felt like I needed it more, and that broke my heart.
Put you in a dark place. Yeah, and broke your heart.
Broke my heart. On top of that, when you're not sharing with somebody, like right now we're sharing like you're my big brother. I'm really sharing.
Thank you, bro.
I'm really sharing. But when you don't have that and you don't know, you have no release and you have no relief, I just start seeing everything as like politics.
Yeah.
They're all like Republicans, Democrats.
Yeah.
It's all a scam. And then referees had come out saying they NBA games were rigged. And I just felt like the whole world, like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this that I live in?
You were getting overwhelmed by the underside of the world.
Dark.
Yeah.
It was dark.
Yeah, and it's there.
Yeah.
But as you and I both know, it just depends on what you're focused on, and obviously there were chemical changes
Yes.
happening in your brain at the time, with the dependency and such, and it slants you in that direction, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, alcohol is a depressant on top of whatever else I was mixing, which was like Xanax to calm down,
right?
Ambien to go to sleep.
You have to get rid of the anxiety, because a lot of times after you drink, you have anxiety the next day.
But
that kind of thing.
At the same time, so just to bring you in, because this you'll understand, I also have this extreme respect and dedication to building the body. I'm living on. I did not eat a single drop of food because my body couldn't break it down. I was living on protein shakes and pre-workouts for energy. So my body became this chemistry store because it couldn't break it all down.
You weren't eating a properly balanced diet. You didn't have any whole foods in there. You were relying too much on, supplements and, and protein shakes and that kind of thing. Which
I was relying on it because I couldn't.
They have their place, but it can't be in lieu of whole food all the time, right?
Of course, but not only that, like I was not even like relying on it. I was like I couldn't keep real food down.
By that point,
you
couldn't keep real food down because of the alcohol.
Exactly.
Right.
The stomach acids and mixing it. So
you're getting messed up physiologically.
100%.
Okay, so that's July 12th. You're in a really dark place. What happens 2 days later? Because I remember you telling me it was July 14th.
Yeah, July 14th, I walk into my intervention.
So did you just get up and decide and say, I need to go get an intervention?
No, I went to work. I worked out that day. Okay.
So how did the intervention happen?
It's a great question. So normally an intervention happens like this. Your family members, the people that really love you and really care and are really seeing what's happening, are worried. And they all get together. And a lot of times if it's someone like me, there's always that, is he that bad? Or is he that bad? I mean, he's still working hard. He's still exercising. When you can do enough things to make the outside look good, it can confuse people. Right. It's like a perfect mask. It's a perfect, but every person appearances. And every single person that loved me was able to put in one different story of when I was just a little too messed up and I drove with my nephews drunk. I bathed my 6-month-old daughter wasted on tequila and almost slipped down the steps. I fell down on an airplane because I had mixed too much Xanax and alcohol flying out with my buddy to Vegas.
Okay.
And everybody puts one story in that another person didn't know.
Right.
And they all go,
oh wow.
There's a problem.
There's a problem. Okay.
There's a problem.
Okay.
So July 14th, I walked into my intervention.
So you walked into a family scenario. They're gathered around. You walk in and it's like, what are y'all doing here? Is it like one of those?
Exactly.
Okay. And what's next?
I sit down. This gentleman by the name of Michael Walsh, who I feel like he's an angel, sits me down and he explains to me how this thing, as he said, is going to go. And he doesn't ask you. No. He just tells you. No.
Is he the one that first speaks up? Your
speaks
family's
up.
just watching.
They're watching, and I'm in my family's home.
Okay.
So this stranger...
So you turn to him and you go, what are you doing here?
Pretty much, like a gentleman. I'm always going to be charismatic and sweet the way you and I are with everybody. Right. But inside, I'm thinking, well, who are you and what are you doing here?
Okay.
And he lets me know that he's there for me.
Okay.
Which seems weird because obviously I've never met the man. And
your antenna go up.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you're there for them. We've never met before.
Okay.
But he was there for me.
Okay.
He was. And he asked me to please sit quietly and please listen to these letters that everybody has written down.
Wow.
And one by one, Lee, they all sounded very similar. It was something very beautiful that they remember of me, something that I've been doing lately, a memory of what happened, and then another beautiful memory of how things can be with the question at the end, will you get help?
Wow.
So
they're just putting you on the spot, bro.
Right on the spot.
I mean, and so... Are you like overwhelmed emotionally at this point?
Terribly, because I don't want to let anyone down.
It's almost like looking in the mirror
the
first time and seeing something different.
But here's where the denial comes in. Are you ready?
Okay.
So they ask me to get help. I go, Lee, I'm a big heart guy. I'm like, of course. And this interventionist, Michael Walsh, goes, okay, great. I mean, he lights up like a Christmas tree. Like when I saw the gym and you open the door, right? He lights up.
Right.
And he's like, we have the best place for you. It's where I went to treatment. It's 28 days. It's called the Hanley Center. And I hear you're into health and fitness. They have a healthy menu. And we have a gym there. And 4 laps around the lake is a mile. He's selling me.
He's selling you.
And all I hear is 28 days. That's all I hear is 28 days. I'm like, I can't process this.
Right.
That's a month.
Right. That's a month of your life. It's like, you want me to go away for 28 days?
Yeah.
It's like, and what goes through your mind? It's like, I don't need to go away for 28 days.
That's exactly what goes through my mind.
Okay.
I can't.
Okay.
I'm not doing 28 days. So the denial comes, and this is the typical Adam thought at the time. It's, what are we going to tell them? Where are people going to think Adam went?
This is what's going through your mind.
My mind.
Let's say I go away for 28 days.
Yes.
Okay, what are we going to tell people? Where am I? So you're embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed, but think about this, Lee. I'm thinking like that with all of these people brokenhearted, crying that they just read me letters.
Right.
So that my thoughts are me.
Right.
Where are people going to say I am?
Right. And instead of focusing on, hey, how are these people that love me so much? I mean, how much it took for them to all be here at one time to tell these stories. And I'm thinking about myself, instead of thinking about them, how I'm impacting their lives. It hadn't occurred to you.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. It was just me.
Right.
So finally he agrees, how about we go for 10 days? He goes, let's just go for 10 days.
Wow. So did you negotiate with him on the spot?
He could see that I wasn't budging.
Got it. Okay.
And
so did you just flat out tell him, no, I'm not going away for 28 days?
I didn't say no, but I certainly wasn't going to be agreeable. He just could tell that this little merry-go-round could go on forever with the 28 days.
Right.
So his idea was, let's just get him there.
Okay.
Let's just get him there. So how about 10 days? So I go, 10 days I can do.
Okay.
Now,
so you agree to go to the 10 days.
Now you realize we're having a great conversation.
Right.
You and I were flowing. We speak language of the heart. You can tell that we're both educated.
Yeah.
Lee, I promise you right now, I could not understand these 2 words that he said.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me what he said.
I go to him. I'm thinking it's July 14th, right? I go, well, in my mind, December's a beautiful time in Florida.
Right.
Right. January. I'm thinking that this would be a good time for me to do this 10-day hiatus. This is what my brain's. I'm like, when would you like to do this? He goes, right now.
Wow.
Couldn't process it. I go, what do you mean right now? Right now.
Okay.
I don't understand. What do you mean right now? Right now. And I'm looking around. I couldn't. Right now, like right now? Like right now, you mean? Right now. He's like, right now. This went on for 10 minutes. Right now. You mean right now?
Wow.
Right now.
You were shocked.
I couldn't. What do you mean right now?
It's can I get my stuff?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I said, can I get my stuff even? He goes, your bags are packed. Don't worry about it. We're leaving right now. Right. Like right now? Or like in a couple of hours now?
Wow.
I couldn't process 2 words.
So do you go out the door with him?
Left.
You left with him?
I left.
Okay.
And that day was my first act of surrender.
Okay.
There was something inside of me that was willing to at least see what this is all about.
What's going through your head at that moment then is, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to go ahead and do it because, everybody that loves me, wants me to get help. I'll try it out.
And I'm going to mix in a little alcoholism with bodybuilding, if that's okay.
Okay.
I go in with this idea that I'm going to be the most dedicated, disciplined rehab patient they've ever seen.
Okay.
And you're
competing with
I'm
yourself.
competing.
Okay.
And they're going to go, there's nothing wrong with this guy.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong. It must be his family.
Okay.
Because this guy's all business.
Yeah, you're still thinking, I'm okay, man.
Yeah. Denial.
Still in denial, right? Okay, so then you go and what do you experience during those 10 days?
This is where the lights went on.
Okay.
This is where the lights went on.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Wow, I can't wait.
Tell
me what happens.
I go in thinking I will be the most dedicated, disciplined, determined rehab patient they've ever seen, like us back in the day, like just regimented. And they're going to go, there's nothing wrong with this guy. I go into detox the first night. There's nothing to do there, Lee. There's no televisions. There's 3 books.
Okay.
There's a 24-hour prayer book, a book called Narcotics Anonymous, and a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, at the time, not now, the 24-hour prayer book seemed a little too religious for me at the time. I wasn't there yet.
Right, of course.
I wasn't there. Narcotics, and I had done plenty of drugs. I've never called it a narcotic. I was staying away from that. Alcoholics Anonymous, I'd heard from the movies. I'd heard, who hasn't heard of AA in some way, shape, or form? So I picked up that book and I started reading a little. And I'm thinking that maybe this is like Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. Like maybe at the end you figure out how to drink like a gentleman. Like you put this together, this together, this together, this together, and there's the recipe. And it's not like that at all. The book's not like that at all. But there was a doctor's opinion, and I knew a doctor I could trust. And I remember reading things like people like me have an allergy to alcohol, and once I drink, the obsession starts, and I have a compulsion, and it's irregular from different people. And what I read in that chapter fit me like a glove.
So you were unaware at that point that you could possibly be having a physiological reaction to it.
I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea.
And were you physiologically predisposed?
I was. It was genetic. It was genetic as well, but it's important. I don't know who it would be for you. Maybe Robbie Robinson. I don't know, frankly. But like, this chapter fit me the way I found your bodybuilding routines and your nutrition plan. It fit me the same way. I understood it for the first time. I could wrap my head around what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I'm really trying to break, because this is how my brain works. I'm not doing this because it's you and me here. This is how I speak. This is how I act. So it's literally going Arnold's old way of ridiculous amount of sets, being like, I can't work out like
You're
this.
comparing it to training.
This is how my whole life, even to this day, coaching people.
Right.
You know, even to this day. So
you're a bodybuilder at heart.
At heart.
Okay.
At heart.
So you're comparing it to things you know of bodybuilding.
It's the only way I can make sense of things.
Okay. And so what realization do you come to during those 10 days?
That there's something. Well, so here we go. I have 3 stories. I'll try to break it. Go fast.
No, this
here
is
we
great,
go.
guy.
So the next day I meet my counselor for the first time.
Okay.
And he goes, "How was your night?" I told him I read this chapter in Alcoholics Anonymous. He looks at me like I'm an anomaly, like I'm a special chosen person. I'm like, there's nothing to do in the room.
Right.
You know, he's like, because most people don't do this.
They don't even read it.
They don't care.
They're just disgusted or don't care.
He goes, they don't care, right?
Right.
And he goes, "What did you think?" I said, "I think there's a lot of me in there." He goes, "So would you say you're an alcoholic?" And Lee, I've never been so offended in my life. Oh. I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, whoa.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand that. I'm not admitting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit. So he goes, "All right, take it easy." This is what I heard a lot. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Right.
I didn't realize I was so tense.
Right.
He goes, "Let me ask you this, Adam." He goes, "Have you ever woken up in the morning and swore to yourself you won't drink that day, but you end up drinking anyway?" Lee, I looked at him, I'm like, and I knew I had to be honest.
Yeah.
I knew the cameras were on me and I got to get out of this place in 10 days.
Right.
Right? That was the agreement I made to myself.
Right.
So I said, all the time. All the time. He goes, "Okay. Do you ever say to yourself, okay, now you broke that promise, you're going to drink tonight, but only 2 or 3, but when you start, you can't stop?"
Right.
And I'm like, every time. He goes, "So let's break it down. If you promise yourself you're not going to drink that night and you end up drinking anyway, then when you make a deal with yourself that you can drink that night, only 2 or 3, but you can't control the amount, would you say you were powerless?" And Lee, I looked at it from every angle. It was checkmate. I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're losing control. You're trying to make a deal with yourself ahead of time, but you lose control.
I lost it.
Okay.
I lost it.
So was that an eye opener?
A very big eye opener. And then he asks me this. He goes, "Do you think your life is unmanageable?" So I took stock of my life. I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, well, I got the car, and we just got the Victoria's Secrets order in, and I got a daughter. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy, Lee. Like I'm crazy. And he slams on the table. Boom, boom, boom. And he's like, "Adam, you're in rehab." And I had to like look back, and I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. And I was like, right. Yeah, I guess my life is unmanageable. As in, that's how powerful my denial had become.
Wow.
I can't see. I know right from wrong. I know not to steal. I know not to hurt. I know not to covet my neighbor's wealth. I know right from wrong. I don't know fantasy from reality.
At that point.
At that point, I did not know fantasy from reality. That happened. Then I heard, Lee, you're going to think that this was like made for me. I'm telling, or people like us. I go to a conference the next day on.
So you go to a conference the next day at the rehab center.
At the rehab center.
Got it.
You know, but they have everybody in there on
Right.
spiritual health.
Okay.
And this gentleman named Dr. John Diamond starts explaining to the audience, but I felt he was talking to me and solely me, was that spirituality is like muscles. Okay, you cannot get more spiritual, right? We can't put another deltoid on Lee and Adam.
You can't grab a meat off
Right.
the counter and slide it under your skin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we're born with all the muscles we're ever going to have.
You have to work for it.
Right. These are the same muscles that Lee was born with and what he did with them. Right. Same with Adam. Well, spirituality is the same way. We were born with all the spirituality you need. It's how healthy it is, how big it is, how full it is, how strong it is. But you can't go out there and get more spiritual.
Right.
And he goes, you could see healthy spirituality. It's in it's in someone's eyes, the way they treat people, the way they find their words quickly.
That's right.
There's a celebration of life. There's gratitude. They're grateful.
Right.
And you can see unhealthy spirituality. People can't find their words. There's a darkness around them. There's a shallowness.
Yeah. And a lot of times people are looking for spirituality outside themselves, not realizing that it's a process inside themselves.
Exactly. And I was that person. I was looking outside, trying to fix the outside and not looking at the inside.
So when you go into this conference,
yeah,
are you like this? Like, do you have your shields up for protection? How spiritual were you at that point, or were you open to that?
I was open, but Lee, I was confused.
Okay.
Because there was that other side of my brain saying, I got to get out of here in 9 days. I got 9 days to get out of this place.
Right.
But it was interesting that everything fit me like a glove.
It felt like, wow, okay, you're more and more, you're realizing that you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just everything, they were speaking my language.
Okay.
The fact that he was talking about spiritual muscles and spiritual fitness, I literally was like, they know I'm here.
They know you're there.
That's how it felt. Obviously, this was for everybody.
Sure.
But it was interesting how much they speak to one another.
Right.
The third thing that happened before my real surrender was I met this guy named Father Ron, a Catholic priest.
Okay.
Now, the way I was raised is a Jew from Jersey. Okay. And I meet a Catholic priest. Okay.
So what a contrast, right?
Yeah. And you know about my faith now.
Yes.
So, and he asks me to put my hand out. So I put my arm out like this.
Okay.
And he goes like this. He goes, Adam, do you see what I did there? So I look at my arm.
So he literally just takes and puts his fingers across your forearm.
He put just like that. His fingers right across my forearm like that. And then he
now
goes,
what happens?
He goes, do you see what I did there? So I'm looking at my forearm. I'm looking at the priest. I'm looking at my forearm. I'm like, Father, I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't understand. So he does it again. He goes, do you see what I did that time? So I look at my forearm, I look at the priest. Again, I'm that extroverted. When I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to try to make you laugh. I'm like, Father, I'm Jewish. Maybe a disconnect. I don't know. He starts laughing.
Okay.
He does it again.
Okay.
He goes, do you see what I did that time? Now I'm really uncomfortable.
Okay.
Right? He's got the white with the black, and I'm like, Father, I heard about you guys.
Okay.
He turns off the lights and he takes a UV light out.
Yep.
And all of his fingerprints are glowing.
Okay.
As in, you and I know that if we left Labrada right now, you could see that we were here. You could see they could find our DNA and everything.
Yeah.
I'm looking at these fingerprints glowing. He goes, Adam, I'm seeing just glowing fingerprints in purple going, do you think that there's been a power all around you that you can't see, taste, touch, none of the 5 basic senses that's been around you, guiding you, protecting you, and brought you here to this moment right now with me? And Lee, I'm just staring at these, and I'm like, Father, I can believe. For the first time, I could believe in God for the first time. He turns the lights on. I'm like, do it again, like it's a magic trick. Do it again. And he does it again for me. But this Catholic priest took this Jew from Jersey and downloaded him into the matrix. And from that day, my spirituality started to grow. I had something. I had the push-pull leg system. I had something I can.
It was a turning point.
I need something I can understand.
It was a turning point.
Do you know what I mean? I can't do Arnold's system. I can do Lisa. I need something I can use. If not, it doesn't make sense. I had something.
Right. So that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
So would you say that was the turning point?
Yes. That, and I had to tell my story, which we basically just went through, in front of these 30 alcoholic addicts, before day 10 that I was supposed to leave.
Okay.
And Lee, I tell my story, and everything you and I have discussed. And at the end, these guys start standing up, applauding me. Oh my God, I was the fat kid. I was the skinny kid.
Wow.
You know, I went to Ohio State University. Wow. I started lifting weights. I know what you felt.
They saw some of themselves in every stage of your life.
And I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good.
That's not good?
I didn't think it was good because I didn't want to be one of these people. Oh. I didn't want to be one of them at that point.
Gotcha.
And that night
it hammered it home. Didn't it
hammered it home.
Yeah.
And I became.
I am one, and I need to be one. And of course, as you and I both know, it makes you a mentor to others. You know, when you become one.
Yeah. And I became, rather than me, Adam, I became part of the we.
Wow.
I became part of the we, and that was my moment. You know, that was.
Bro, that is just so powerful. That is just so powerful.
Thanks, Lee.
You know, and I can see myself in that. I can see, others in that. You know, we all struggle.
Yeah,
we all struggle. You know, for some of us it's alcohol. For some of us it's drugs. For some of us it's social behavior, sex addictions, or thoughts that we just can't get out of our head, just repetitive. Or negative attitudes and that type of thing. And so, at this point, Adam, do you realize, hey, you know what? I'm done with the family business. I'm going to go out and I'm going to start mentoring people. I mean, at what point does that happen?
Lee, it's very similar to the way you were explaining. I'm in Labrada headquarters right now. I've never seen a facility like this, and to hear Lee describe how this happened, the timing of it with code, it was like that. It was guided. It wasn't
100%.
I can't explain it exactly.
100%.
It's just one domino falls into the other.
Right.
I go into the family business, and I realize with this new found gratitude of life, and that gratitude leaks into a certain kind of confidence, not an arrogant or a humble, a sweet confidence.
That's right.
That I know who I am, and I don't have to be Tom Brady, and I don't have to be Joe Montana, but I became more like Coach Phil Jackson. I was completely in a different sport.
Right.
And I ran the family business the way I see you running this. Like, it was calling the triangle. It was respecting every single person on the floor. Dennis Rodman is equal to Michael Jordan, but we just want you to rebound.
So it helped you to find your place inside the company.
100%.
Okay, so now you didn't feel like a fish out of water anymore.
I did, and I ran it like the way I see you here, like Knights of the Round Table. Like, of course, at the end of the day, my decision is going to have to hold, but I cared about every single person's decision. I wasn't Tom Brady, I have to do this, and Joe Montana, I have to do this. I led by coaching.
Right.
And same thing was happening with my recovery. I attacked my recovery like you and I would attack the gym, because it was the only way I know how to do things. It's the only way I understand how to do it, is to put my all into it and to enjoy it. So other than that, I don't get the results. I don't get the results that I'm looking for, I should say.
That's so powerful, man.
So I did that, and it became attractive to people. I wasn't doing it to get asked to speak. I wasn't doing it for applause. I wasn't doing it because I knew this would be my career path. I was doing it because I loved it and I enjoyed it, and it was giving me so much gratitude.
And so we find that as we help people, we get a lot of satisfaction, much more satisfaction than focusing everything on ourselves.
It's unbelievable.
It really is.
It's unbelievable. I remember getting compliments. I would go to Whole Foods or coffee shops, and people would see me working with these guys, going, and men and women, and trying to help them recover, and them almost looking at me like, I'm so amazed that you would do this while you're running that empire. And I'm like, I'm having way more fun doing this than I am checking lace samples right now.
It's gratifying. And it's about contributing to people on an individual level. There's so many different ways that we can contribute. We can contribute with our careers and with what we do. And running the company certainly creates value for society and for your customers, but there's also creating value for individuals, that are facing similar struggles, and realizing that, you've been through something similar, perhaps, so they can learn from what I did.
Yeah.
And so Did it take you long to develop your program? Because I know you have a program.
Yeah.
And what is the name of your program?
So I call it the Hero Project. We also, it's interesting how these things blossom, right? You can find it's also, we're doing Ignite the Hero Within. We also have the Hero 7, which are 7 daily disciplines. But it's really about finding the inner hero, the hero that we all are striving to be. And did it take me a while? Yeah, I would actually say it took me every bit of my journey. It wasn't like I just sat there with a pen and pad and it's like, well, I want to be the next coach. And, no, it took it took being the little boy, the fat kid, finding your workout. It took going to rehab. It took going to college and experimenting with drugs and alcohol. But it also took the discipline of bodybuilding. And it took all those years running the family business. And it took getting then, when I decided I want to be a coach, getting the certifications and the courses just to realize that what I'm doing has merit and that I'm allowed to do what I want to do.
Right.
But really, it took every little bit.
Yeah. Now, when you are working with your clients,
Yeah.
okay, and when you're mentoring, you've said that having a bad day doesn't mean you have a bad life.
Yeah.
Do you have a good day every day, Adam?
I got more good than bad.
Which is an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm one that likes to say that it is whatever we make it, right?
100%.
Yeah. In other words, if we get up in the morning, we can decide whether to have a good day or a bad day. But let's say for those of us that are listening out there, they're having a bad day. Okay. That doesn't mean they have a bad life, right?
Not even close. It's a perception shift. And also, I love knowing anyone listening or watching us is that, your emotions are not facts. Feelings are not facts. And you can feel like you're having a bad day.
Right.
And you could feel like you're stuck in traffic, but not really know that God may be protecting you from a car accident 3 miles down the road. If we stop acting like we know everything all the time,
right,
and why it's happening to us, we can just shift. It doesn't mean you're not going to be angry. It doesn't mean you're not going to be frustrated. It doesn't mean you're not going to be in a rush to go possibly pick up your child, whatever you're doing. But there's a grander scheme going on.
You feel like it just gives us a bigger picture view. In other words, it's about developing a bigger frame of reference.
Absolutely.
It's not just about me and my little slice of the world. It's like what's happening around me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you do too. But I still experience every emotion known to mankind.
Of course,
I just know
human,
how.
Right?
Yeah, we're human.
Right.
I just know how to walk through them. Right. And for someone like me or wired similarly to me, not look for something to drown that feeling out.
Right. Are there ever days that you're tempted?
It's a great question. The times I've been tempted, Lee, it's really interesting. The times I've been tempted are when they're really good and I want to make them better.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, and isn't it because a lot of times when we resort to things like drinking or drugs or whatever, aren't we really just looking for a change in our state of mind?
Absolutely.
Like an altered reality.
If Lee and Adam got bad news right now, I would know how to handle it.
Right.
You and I would know how to handle it intuitively, right?
Sure.
We would know.
Sure.
And yet, if you and I were in Mexico together and you're having a beautiful glass of wine with Robin, I want euphoric recall.
Right.
Isn't that it's really weird how, so it's only been a couple of times.
Right.
And it's been when the times are really good.
Right. That you're tempted.
Yeah.
It's not just hiding or medicating in order to cover some kind of a problem or something. It's also the situation that you want to make it even better, right?
Yeah.
A celebratory type of a thing.
Exactly. But Lee, I'm grateful for those moments too.
Yeah.
I want to be honest.
Well,
because
and I think that you're smart enough to recognize them, right? When they
Yes.
happen. I mean, doesn't it basically? It's like, okay, I know what's happening.
Absolutely.
That's a trigger, and that comes into the topic of habits, right?
Yeah.
And there's triggers in our environment, and things that will trigger memories or trigger a desire or an urge, and at least recognizing those, I think is really important. It's been really important for me.
It's huge. It's everything.
And being able to step outside myself and say, hey, you know what? I just triggered this habit. I'm in the habit of getting up in the morning, let's say, and checking my social media first thing in the morning. Is that constructive? No, not really. I would really rather just meditate, say my prayers, read my scripture, and just get my mind right for the day. That's the better thing to do from my perspective. That's me personally, right?
Yeah, and that healthy awareness, like I actually wish sometimes you were with me speaking to these NFL, because that healthy awareness, Lee, is the difference between a habit and a dependence, right? I would be the kind of guy that if I took the cookies and cream lean body RTD first thing in the morning, 7 days in a row, and the 8th day, I will not leave the house until I have that. I can create an unhealthy dependence on something like that. So you having that awareness of, you know what, I'm checking social media a little too much, whatever that was, and I'm gonna go back to prayer, journaling, meditation, healthy things for me. That awareness is the big line between a habit and a dependency.
There's a difference.
Oh yeah.
There's a difference. Okay, somebody that's listening to us talk right now, and it's a person that's sitting on the fence trying to figure out whether they have an issue or not. Okay. Some of what might be going through their mind is, oh my gosh, I can never change. I'm afraid to fail. What if I fail? I can't do this. How do you address that?
If it's somebody listening to us the first time and we don't have true interaction with them, I'd like to do it in really, really, really small bites. Okay, today you want to stop this behavior you want to stop the behavior, but how about we just don't do it for the next 20 minutes?
Okay.
Just for the next 20 minutes.
A small
bite.
Short frame goal.
Right, because, and then by the way.
Can you get through the next 20 minutes?
Because then we're going to reward you. We're going to let you do your thing.
Okay.
And then the next day, see if you could do it without 40 minutes. Eventually, we'll get them to an hour, and probably within that hour, even though the thought will be there, they may be preoccupied with something else they're doing.
Right.
And we're starting to show them, you see, that was just a bad habit. That was not a full dependence.
Bro, that's fascinating. Just the way of reframing it, making them realize that it's just small steps.
And without trying to pay homage or too many compliments, where I got all of this from.
Well, it really is very similar to progressive resistance in bodybuilding. And obviously you increase the weight a little bit each time. Small steps add up into big things.
Yes,
Adam, this is just too great.
It's the truth.
It's fascinating. Now let me ask you this: where would people contact you for more information on your hero program?
Adam Jablin at everywhere. I put it under
Adam Jablin at everywhere. On Instagram.
No.
Okay, and that's Jablin, Jablin.
Not at everywhere. Sorry. What I meant was Adam Jablin Instagram, Adam Jablin Facebook, Adam Jablin TikTok, Adam Jablin. This is a whole new world, Lee. LinkedIn,
right?
But I just put it under my name because the hero part, I do like having the subcategories very similar the way we were in bodybuilding, where at certain times we're focusing on the nutrition, certain times we're focusing on the health, sometimes we're really focusing on the training. Well, to each person, and if you want the overall package, that's the hero project, where we're going to look at everything and really almost like it's a show.
Right.
The hero project is like getting ready for a show. You're going to get ready for a full transformation. Lee, not everybody's wanting that. Sometimes people just want to they want to change something just a little bit in their lives. So I'm there to help them with that as well.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Bro, this has been so awesome.
The best.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm just so grateful that you've joined us today. And I know that we're going to help thousands of people, and which is just makes it all worth it. Adam, thank you so much.
Lee, thanks for having me. It's just important for me to express my gratitude to you, because I don't know where I would be without finding that Flex magazine, that Muscle and Fit. I really don't, and it's I'm overwhelmed with gratitude.
Thank you. And I'm just so happy that if I could have played a small part somewhere along the journey, it's just it's amazing. And now you're out there just helping thousands of people, break free of their bad habits, their addictions, helping them to get a grip on life. I think it's just amazing. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
And so help us to grow the Lee Labrada Show. Please tell one of your friends about the show if you enjoyed the show today, and make sure that you hit the subscribe button. All right, you guys, stay motivated, get up, look up, and God bless.
The Lee Labrada Show.
My life flashes right before me. Thunder from a distant shore. Voices in my head imprison me.